So now let's look at how we can pass the data from the parent to the child component in both Angular and Next.js. Okay. To start with, let's write the code in Angular, then we'll go to Next.js. Okay. So the first thing, like I said, I use command line for Angular to create a components. So I'll create a component called child. Okay, it is created a child component now. This one. Okay, I will import that child component in the main app component. Okay, now if you see the child works. Okay, now if I want to pass a data to the child component from the parent in Angular. Okay, let's start in the TypeScript file. Let me just pass a single value, maybe content a string value, content from parent. Okay, I'll pass this content string to the child and display in the child. Okay, to display it in the child, we have to keep it in the brackets and the property here. Okay, whatever the property that we have here. Okay, now when let's go to app child now to get hold of this. So in the child component here we need to use in the child component we need to use input of the same property name. Okay, and import this input. So let me just add any type, any data type. Okay, to use this in the child, you can directly take this string and display in the child. This is how you can pass a string value from the parent to the child. Okay, what is this issue? Okay, it is input and content. This is correct. And this is correct. Okay, now if you see this child component content is printed. If you want to check, so if you see this content came from app child. Okay, not from the parent. Okay, this is passed to the child and the child printed the content here. Okay, now let's send multiple records instead of plain string. Okay, now this content will change it to list of states. Okay, like California, New York. Okay, I'll just pass these two values. App component, app HTML. Okay, here I'll change this property name to states. In the child also I need to change this to states. Now I got two states. Okay, now content is This is the states. It should be states. Now if you see, both the values are printed, two values. Okay, now let's make the same minor change to send objects instead of two different values, array of objects. Okay, so we'll say state California, state New York. Now I'm sending array of objects. Okay, now if you see, we got objects instead of actual value. To change that, so this states has array of objects. To display it, we can simply say Angular pipe that we can directly use. It will print like a JSON structure. Okay, or we can iterate using for loop. Okay, we can simply use for loop, like this is Angular 17 way of looping. So state of states and track state. Okay, if this list is empty, we can print something states are empty. Okay, if there is a value, we can print it here in double curly braces, like state dot name. What is the property? Okay, state dot state. Okay, this is how we can loop through the records. Okay, let me just remove this JSON. So now if you see, we looped these two. Sorry, let me just cut this. Okay, we looped these two and displayed. Okay, this is how you can send the data from the parent to the child. Now let's look at the same thing in Next.js. Okay, the same parent to child. Okay, let's send the data from parent to the child in Next.js. Okay, so we'll create a page under pages called child.tsx. So let's keep this as it is. We'll write what we need to do in this. Okay, let's use this child and we'll pass the data from here. For now, I'll just get rid of these buttons. So this is the child. Okay, if you want to pass the data to the child, so here constant states, set states, and use state, and we can define same thing California. We'll go for New Jersey. So now we have these two states available here. Okay, we can simply say states equal to, we can pass the states like this to the child. Okay, this is the first step. Right now we don't have a property to hold this content in the child. That's why it is throwing error. Okay, within the child, just pass this. Now no errors here, and within the child you got the states already. All you need to do is simply iterate. You no need to set it to any use state here. By default it is available through the props. So for that reason, so I wanted to, let me just push this content to center. What was the CSS? Okay, let's use the same CSS to push this content to center. Okay, so within this states dot map, this is how we should iterate the state, and here what we will do is we'll use the list item. Within the list item state, this is how you can pass the data from the parent to the child in Next.js. Let's validate. Okay, this is how we should pass. Now it should work. Okay, now if you see California and New Jersey printed. Okay, so these two values, we got these two values from the parent which is of page. Okay, we pass the values here. So now let's look at how we can send the data from the child to the parent in both Angular and Next.js. Okay, so let's start with Angular. Since we already have a child here, okay, let me start here. I'll add a button. So from the child we need to send the data to parent. Send to parent. Okay, I'll add a click function. Send the data to parent. Okay, and here I'll add this function. So in Angular, if you want to send the data from the child to the parent, we have to use something called event emitter. Okay, let's define this event emitter with output. So to get the data from the parent to child, we used input. Now we have to use output. Okay, so I'll add send data event, and it will be new event emitter. Okay, new event emitter, and we can, for now I don't want to mention the type, I'll just send whatever I want. If you want specific type, you can set it here. When I click this button on the UI, I want to send this data to the parent. Okay, I'll simply say message from child to parent. This message I want to send. Okay, now this is how we can send data. When I click this button, I want to send the data to the parent, but I need to get hold of the data on the parent, right? Okay, for that use this particular name, go to the app component HTML. Here you need to say this is the event, and get hold of that with the event. This is how you should tie this one with the child event emitter, so that it will be tied. Once it is tied, you can copy this, go here, get that event. I'll just define a property called message of any. I want to assign the whatever the message that I got from the parent, from the child to the parent, I'll assign it to here, so that now I can use this in the parent, which is this. I'll display here. Okay, now let's validate this. So when I click this send to parent is part of the child. Okay, so this particular function button is part of the app child. When I click this the content should be coming and displaying on the parent. Okay, now if you see the message from child to the parent. Okay, let's inspect. If you see within the app child, this message is outside the app child. That means the message came from the child to the parent and displayed on the parent. Okay, so this is how you can send the data from the child to the parent. So all we need to do is create an output with event emitter, and you can give a name to that event emitter and call next, and you can send data, whether it can be a single string, boolean, or multiple objects, multiple arrays, anything. To get hold of this, use this name, go to the parent and set the same name here. This right side name can be anything, it's your wish, but this name should match. Then automatically whatever the event content that is sent, it will be tied to the $event. Okay, once you have this function here, and get hold of this and use it. So this is the way to send the data from the child to the parent in Angular. Let's look at it in Next.js. So to send the data from the child to the parent in Next.js, okay, let's add a button, send to parent. Okay, let's add on click, and within this say send data to parent, the function name. Within this, go here, async function. So in here what we need to do is, first thing we will get a event as a parameter to this. Okay, let me write it like this. Okay, within this let's let's prevent the event default function or default feature. Okay, let's prevent the default. Then now we'll add a function called onChange. Within this we will say send the message from child to parent. Okay, but now we added the content in the child. Okay, now to get hold of this message we should go to the parent. Also we need to add this along with states here. Okay, so that it will be available to the parent. So within the parent here onChange, here you can get hold of this. So okay, let's say child data I use, and within here I'll use child data comma set child data, and use state of null. And once I get the data, I'll print it here. Okay, same, almost similar to Angular. Okay, we added a button, on click event. We are calling this on change. Let's say message. Okay, so when we click it, it is going to on change. We have to pass the same on change here, or whatever the function name that you want to pass, and the same thing should be referred to the same child here, and the function name. This function will get whatever is passed from the child. Okay, since this is tied up here, by default child data will have the content. Okay, within this message, let's validate. Okay, so this is the button. Okay, so this is the button send to parent. When I click this button, I got this message from the child. Okay, so it is almost similar to Angular. This is how you can send the data from the child to the parent. Okay.